What happens to us after we die? Do we cease to exist, or do we live on? This may be the biggest question that mankind has ever asked, as well as what this podcast is about. In this show, we will examine past life memories, speak with professional hypnotherapists, astral projection practitioners, psychics, and much more, all in an attempt to decipher this riddle. So welcome to the puzzle. Welcome to the regression session. Say, welcome to the regression session.
Welcome
back to the regression session. My name is Ian, and this week we're going to be hearing from Courtney Starkey. And Courtney is a hypnotherapist who trained with Dr. Brian Weiss and with Julia Cannon, who is the daughter of Dolores Cannon. If you don't know who either of those people are, check out the links in the description. I've linked to both of their Wikipedia pages so you can quickly check them out and get a feel for who they are. But they're both pioneers in the field of past life regression work and things like that. Courtney offers training for up-and-coming hypnotherapists and experienced hypnotherapists as well. She also offers her own hypnosis sessions and things like that. So go check her website out. It's linked in the description, as well as her social media sites and things like that. We talk about some really interesting things, and I had a lot of fun talking to Courtney, so I'm really excited to post this episode. If you have past life memories, or if you want to come onto the show to share your knowledge about any metaphysical topic, shoot me an email. My email is theregressionsession@gmail.com. And here's my conversation with Courtney. Hey, Courtney, thanks for coming on to the show.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more. But just for the audience's sake, if you don't mind just introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about your background, who you are, and what you do, that'd be fantastic.
Sure, definitely. My name is Courtney Starkey, and I am a spiritual hypnotherapist. And for me, that means connecting to souls and spirit guides and angels and past lives. And the way that all of this magic started for me is I started out as a spiritual hypnosis client back in 2013 and loved it. Like immediately felt better after experiencing my very first hypnosis session after trying for years to feel better by way of, the usual stuff, self-help books and meditation and better nutrition and exercise. And I've been trying years to feel better because I had been pretty depressed and anxious and angry, and then had a hypnosis session and didn't understand why at the time, but started to feel better immediately. And then I had a few more hypnosis sessions, and pretty soon into it, I realized that this is something that I was meant to learn how to do so I could help other people. And all of that happened in Hawaii. I knew I'd be moving back to Virginia and wanted to do my training so I could help people in Virginia. And then I ended up training with Dr. Brian Weiss in past life regression. And then a couple of years later, trained with Dolores Cannon's daughter in QHHT, and then also trained with the Michael Newton Institute in LVL. And so I feel really, really lucky to be able to say that 7 years into being a professional hypnotherapist, I facilitated about 1,000 one-on-one sessions, and it's been such a treat to be privy to all of this wisdom and energy from souls and spirit guides and the spirit realm. So yeah, been enjoying life quite a bit since discovering spiritual hypnosis.
Yeah, once you wake up to it, you can't really go back to sleep. That's how I feel.
Exactly.
That's so cool that you've done so many. That's a lot. 1,000 people. That's a ton.
I know. And it's really interesting how their sessions will validate the wisdom that comes in for people that have never met each other. It's really remarkable. And people will ask me if I've read certain spiritual hypnosis books recently. I don't even read spiritual hypnosis books anymore because so much wisdom is coming in during the sessions. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. Like, I'm getting to read the coolest chapter of the coolest book every time a client has a session. So
Yeah, it is really interesting. And, it's crazy. People will think that other people are making it up, but then there's people that come through that don't know each other, that have never met. They don't know each other, and they'll start talking about the exact same thing. And it's just like, okay, how does that even happen then if they're making it up or whatever?
Right. One of my favorite examples about that is when I was training with the Newton Institute in LBL, they have you record, I can't remember now if it's 5 or 6, but it's several hypnosis sessions. And then you have to submit the transcripts and the recordings of those sessions in order to, demonstrate that you're good at this so that they'll certify you. And so I was really asking people who I could practice an LBL session on if they would do me the favor of experiencing an LBL. And I just had one slot left and I wasn't sure who to ask. And so I asked my husband if he would be the person that I could practice on because he was in the house. Like I didn't have to coordinate anything with his schedule. I'm like, you're in the house, just be the person I practice on. So he agreed to it. He has no interest in this work. He hadn't read any of Newton's books. And then, okay, scandalous confession on my part. I actually hadn't finished reading Newton's books before I took the training or before I facilitated that session because I'm a really, really slow reader. So I had started them, but I hadn't finished them. And I tell you all of this because my husband went into 4 areas of the spirit realm that he didn't know anything about. And so what's interesting is telepathy has been proven to be real, right? So it'd be very easy to say, oh, well, maybe your husband didn't read the book, but you read the book. And so you ended up telepathically transferring that wisdom to him. But I actually hadn't finished reading the books. So he didn't know it. I didn't have any experience or exposure to that information. And so after his session, I quickly flipped through Newton's books and I found the 4 areas in the spirit realm that my husband was describing during his sessions. And so for me, that's when I went from really believing in my mind that all of this is real to like really believing in my heart that all of this really is real. So I'm so grateful that that happened. I'm so grateful I'm a slow reader and didn't finish the book because then I knew like, okay, wow, like if he's accessing this, it's real. So pretty cool.
Is Michael Newton, I've read his books and everything, but I've read so many books, they all kind of like blend together,
Yeah,
is he the one that talks about like the little, almost like the books that people will read after they die and they're like translucent, almost like blueprints? Is he the one that talks about those?
That's an interesting idea. I don't know because even though I did eventually finish the books, same thing, they all kind of blend together and that was also years ago. So I am not sure, but maybe.
The reason I ask is because I know I've read about it somewhere. I know that one of those pioneers described these like almost like blueprint book things that people will read, and it's like a life review, and they go through and it will like transfer the impressions of their life to them and let them go through it. I just barely today did a regression, an LBL regression with somebody, and they had never read any books about it or anything like that. And then they started describing these like white translucent books that I've heard about before. I never said anything about it. I didn't tell her anything about it at all, but she started describing them and I was like, whoa, that's so cool. And I was just like eating it up. I was like, this is so awesome that you're describing these things that other people have seen.
Yeah, it really is very validating when people who have not had exposure to the literature or heard about their friends' sessions, that they come to it on their own, and it's so validating.
Yeah, and she listens to my podcast, and I haven't mentioned those on my podcast before either. This is like the first time I've talked about them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's so fascinating. And what's also fascinating about the whole process of LBL regression is it takes a long time because you need to go through the past life and hit every part and learn everything you can from the past life. And then you got to go through the whole death process too, and that's what takes so much time. But it's just so, I could talk about it for hours because it's so fascinating to me, the whole life between life regression thing.
Mm-hmm. One thing that has also been happening for my clients, like something shifted gears in a really big way back in 2018. And I was studying to earn my MHT or Master Hypnotherapist certification. And in one of the required readings, it was mentioned that sometimes people don't need the long inductions. And it was really interesting because I read that and I never really thought about it because as a client, I actually don't need the long inductions. And I wait for my hypnotherapist to finish. Like my spirit guides will jokingly tap their fingers impatiently. And I'm like, she's almost done. She's almost done. Like I'm saying that in my head to my spirit guides who's, it's waiting for the induction to be complete. And so I remember reading that thinking like, oh, that happens to other people. And so within that week, I had a client who was having a session. She was very delightfully verbose in the pre-talk. And then we got to the induction. And I said the very first sentence of a pretty well-known induction, which is, if I were to say to you, could you see a red bird? Could you see one for me? And anybody who's taken QHHT or experienced QHHT is very familiar with that starter sentence. And she was quiet. Remember, this is a chatty person. She was quiet and she was quiet and she was quiet. And then she goes, I am trying to see the red bird and I cannot see it through all of the purple. And I realized that she was one sentence into the induction and she was already in. I was like, holy crap. And then just ditched the rest of the script and then facilitated the session from there. And so then I started thinking like, is this more common than we realize that sometimes people just really don't need these long protracted experiences? And so I started to play around with it a little bit and started to formulate an induction where I could, quote, check their temperature to see if they were in. And a lot of them are in really, really quickly. And so then I started to just let them go with the flow of what was happening in the session. Because I had that same training, right? Where it's like, it's very structured and you have all of these steps that you go through. And I was thinking like, I wonder, like, do we need to go through all of these steps? And are we even going through the steps in the order that they need, that they want, that their soul would prefer? And so I really let it become this very free flowing thing that eventually I started calling soul empowering hypnosis because the client's soul is really in the driver's seat. And it's interesting because it's still that type of session that goes with the flow, still checks off all of the boxes of what they're meant to experience in those more structured sessions, but then also opens up to even more because there's actually more time available to them in the session because, you know how it is, like sometimes they're not going in the direction that the script dictates, and then it takes a while to get them there. And so with the free flow style, they go where they're going pretty quickly because that's where they're meant to go. And so then we end up having more time to explore other things, which is really interesting. So I really do love the scripted, structured styles of hypnosis because they are very, very helpful. But man, the free flow style is also like really, really fun. So I don't know if you've tried that yet or not, but you'll like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I found that some people need the structure and some people don't.
Right.
Like I use a technique called the Hall of Mirrors because I really like it, and it's pretty quick. I'd say the induction takes maybe, I don't know, maybe like 25 minutes at most, depending on the person. But like for another example of the person that I just barely had done right before doing this interview, when I took them into their, most hypnotherapists I've talked to will create a safe space beforehand. When I took her into her safe space, she got to her safe space, and then like she went through it, and all of a sudden she was completely somewhere else, and I had there was no structure, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. You have to like follow them on their journey. Basically, you're basically guiding them through their own journey. And I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
it's so much fun. It's really nice too, because sometimes people are like, well, what's going to happen in this session? I'm like, I don't know. We're about to find out.
Yeah.
So it's an adventure every time.
Yeah, but it's really cool. I don't ever want to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's just so interesting. And, the way I got into it, for just so you know, is I started off doing it as kind of like a joke with my brother. I was like, hey, Jacob, you want to see your past lives or whatever? And he was like, sure, yeah, whatever, man. So we sat down and I randomly put him in hypnosis. I had no idea what I was doing. It was probably a bad idea, but I did it anyway. And then I was expecting nothing. Because he has like a milder version of aphantasia than I do. Mm-hmm. So he can kind of see things. But then he just like fell into this life of this one-eyed woman from like Europe or Ireland or something in like the 30s. And she ended up dying of starvation or exposure or both. And he was just like sobbing. And my brother's like this tough guy, like this big tough dude. He never cries.
Yeah.
But he was sobbing and I was like, oh my God, what did I just get myself into?
I love it, Ian. You were like, well, it's the deep end. That's what we're going to dive into.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the concept of soul contracts?
Yes, I very much am.
So I love the idea that your souls, like Ian's soul is like, hey, we're going to pretend we're playing around. And then Jacob's soul is like, yeah, let's pretend we're playing around. But we're actually going to start like your life's journey, your life's purpose with this quote joke session. So I love the idea that there's a soul contract where the two of you are like, we're going to pretend this is a joke. This is actually really important and it's going to change our lives.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. Because my brother, when he came out of it, he was just like, well, that was weird. And then he just like moved on with his life. But me, I was like, wait, can we do that again? Like,
did he ever do it again?
Yeah. And then the second time I did it with him, he completely channeled a different person called Breck Stevens. And he had an accent, like a Southern drawl accent like this.
Yeah.
And he completely took on this personality of Breck. He channeled him because he was like, yeah, Breck Stevens was there. He was talking. Like I felt him talking. I could see his face. And I was like, wait, so you weren't just talking? He's like, no, Breck Stevens was talking. I was like, okay, that was really weird. And then I did it to my sister too. And she channeled two people. She channeled a World War II soldier. And again, this was before I knew anything or knew what I was doing. I was literally just screwing around. I really feel bad about the World War II soldier. I feel like I didn't do as much as I could have to bring him closure. But then she channeled this little girl who was like, yeah, I'm not one of Taylor's past lives. I was like, oh, wait, what? And she's like, yeah. She basically said, I'm a ghost and I wanted to talk to you, Ian. And here's the advice I have for you. And I was like, okay. And then my sister was like, yeah, I'm never doing that again.
Okay. Do you think she will? Well, how's she doing with the World War II past life? Is everything okay there?
Oh, yeah, she's good. Like, okay. She's fine. She's totally fine. Like, I was able to bring her out of the hypnosis and everything like that. But
it's just more that you wish that you had approached it or done something a little bit different.
I wish I would have done it. Yeah. Like, pulled him into the safe space and let him feel safe because he didn't feel safe. And yeah, but again, that was before I was just screwing around. So it was before I knew what I was doing. But yeah, it kind of like when I did it, it started off as a quote unquote joke, or maybe it was meant to happen. Who knows? I never thought about it the way that you said it. And then it just kind of went from 0 to 60 in like 2 seconds. And I was like, oh, okay, what's going on? And I stopped doing it for a minute because I was kind of scared because I was like, I don't know what's going on.
That's really interesting that you had that experience of the little girl coming to you, because that'll happen from time to time in sessions where, and I'm sure you've had this experience since then, where the person's soul or a spirit guide or an angel or whoever it may be, they're like, yes, we get that this is this person's session, but we also have a message for you. And what's funny is for the longest time, those souls would hound me about finishing my book. And of course, but then the clients didn't even know I was working on a book. Like nobody knew that. And so they would come out of the session. They're like, are you working on a book? And I'm like, yes. And I really need to finish it.
That's so cool.
I don't get hounded about that anymore because I published it last summer.
Yeah, that's cool right there. I love stuff like that. I love when, because there's a lot of skeptics out there. Okay. And I have a few that listen to my show, and I've had some sessions where there was information that came through that there's no, like, I know that they didn't know it beforehand, but then we looked it up afterwards and we were able to verify everything afterwards. And like, I guess, okay, for skeptics, like, yeah, I guess I could have made it up. I guess they could have made it up. But what's the point? Like, if I was getting paid to have someone come to me and put them in a hypnosis, why would they lie if they were paying me?
Yeah. Yeah. And I also, my answer to that, when people are like, how do you know for sure they're not making it up? And I'm like, well, we don't really know anything for sure. Like, we don't know anything for sure. But what we do know is that that person feels better after that session. And for me, I'm like, hey, as long as they feel better, that's all I really care about. You know, we're healers, right? So we just want the person to have an improved life as a result of having their sessions.
And that's all that really matters anyway, regardless of whether or not it's real. I always say this. I've said it a million times. My audience is probably gonna eat me alive for doing this, but is regardless of whether or not it's real, it's still a real experience.
Yeah.
And that's, I always say,
eat you alive. That's such a good point. Audience, no, eating him alive. It's a really good point.
Yeah, audience, take it to heart. And this is the millionth time they've heard the story about the little girl coming into my sister and talking to me. But you know what? It's fine.
What was her message for you? I've never heard it.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And everybody has a different take on it. Her message for me, and actually this part I've never talked about. So this is new. So her message for me was basically this. She said, you have a habit of letting external influences affect the way you see the world. And so you need to stop letting people change the way you look at things and just be true to yourself. And it was really interesting that she said that. And then like mid-sentence, she goes, quit tugging on me. I'm trying to talk. And I was like, what? And she was like, oh, nothing. Taylor's guide's just trying to pull me out. He says I'm out of time. And I was like, wait, Taylor's guide's here?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? And then he's like, not like yanking on her, but like tugging on, like if your dog was like sniffing a fire hydrant for too long and you like tug on the leash. That's kind of how I got the feeling.
Yeah.
But then I was like, yeah, it's okay. It's time for you to go. She's like, well, I'm kind of scared. I don't want to go. And I was like, sorry, call out to your guide, because I still didn't know what I was doing.
Your intuition's really good. That's good advice.
Yeah, well, she told me, because she was from the 1800s, right? And she died a horrible death. I don't want to talk about it. It makes me really sad. But she was like, yeah, I never even thought about calling out to a guide because that concept didn't exist to us.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes me wonder how many other wandering souls out there are like that are just kind of wandering. She told me, and this really creeped me out at the time, that you can't walk anywhere without like every part of this world almost is just completely full of wandering souls. Like they're bumping into each other kind of in a daze. That's what she told me, and it really creeped me out at the time.
Yeah, I've seen something kind of like that in one of my sessions when I was a client, where there's a lot. Like, you can probably tell, I'm very sunshine and rainbows and sparkles and puppy dogs. Like, I'm in a good mood 98% of the time. So anytime something dark-ish comes into one of my hypnosis sessions, I'm like, oh, I did not see that coming. But yeah, I've seen that, like, there's a lot that's going on around us that we are blissfully ignorant of. So it's interesting. I assume that we are aware of what we're meant to be aware of.
Yeah, I agree. But so I may or may not keep this part in, but I want to ask you this. Have you ever heard of like psychedelics and like psychedelic drugs, and how people are thinking that it opens up your perceptions in your brain? So like it basically, what they're saying is it's opening up more neural pathways in your brain to be open to more information. So you're not hallucinating, you're just taking in more information. And that's why people interact with things. Have you ever heard of that before?
I'm happy for you to keep this in. Ready for my answer?
Yes.
Yeah. So I actually have done mushrooms one time ever in my life. And I was really, really careful about it, because I'm very like, my body is my temple, that whole thing. And so the person that I got the mushrooms from is actually a medical doctor who is married to a scientist, and I was like, if these two are okay with these mushrooms, I'm okay with these mushrooms. And so what's funny is I took them on March 3rd of 2020. And I like to make the joke that if the last year and a half has been a bad trip, like that would explain it better than anything else. So
There you go.
I'm like, pretty sure this last year and a half is just a continued mushroom trip. No. But what was really interesting is when I was taking the mushrooms, a couple of things. One, I learned because the doctor gave me 2 doses of the mushrooms, and I didn't even use the second dose because I get even more information in hypnosis sessions than I did from the psychedelic mushroom trip. My access point is spiritual hypnosis. My access point is not mushrooms, even though other people will have a better access point with mushrooms than they would spiritual hypnosis. And so the mushrooms, like during that trip, they were even saying like, Courtney, you're actually a lot more magical if you have nothing in your system. Like you do better with nothing. I'm like, oh, how humble of you, mushrooms. Thank you very much. But the other thing that I wanted to mention is, remember earlier I said like I'm all like sunshine and rainbows and sparkles and like everything is fine and we're all from one source, which I totally believe. And I'm like, it's all love, which I totally believe. I did not know until that mushroom trip, like there's a lot more darkness than I was aware of before that trip. And I could turn it off and on. Like if I closed my eyes, I could hear the chattering. And then if I opened my eyes, it would go back to normal and I couldn't hear it. And I was like, what is this? And so then I ended up days later, when I didn't have anything in my system, taking myself into self-hypnosis. And I was like, what was that? And so then I did a really nice, ultimately very positive deep dive into like, what was that? Why was I able to access it? And just learning more about like, what is it when there is darkness in the world, in the universe around you? Like, what is that? And what are the positive aspects of being aware of something like that? Because for me, I always try to find the positive in everything. So I was like, okay, I'm going to figure out like, what is the good here? And I did figure it out, which is really, really nice. But yeah, it was very interesting to tap into things in that way. Because previously I really was like, everything is great. There's not really darkness out there. I'm like, oh shit. I think there might really be some darkness out there. And it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't have one without the other, I think.
Right. Exactly.
That's a theme. You know, I'm definitely going to cut this part out because I'm not ready to talk about it.
Okay, sure.
Publicly. But I'm actually in the process of doing a research project about and so I'm currently collecting data about this, and I haven't really told that many people, but I thought just because of what you just talked about, you might find that interesting.
That is very interesting. How come you're keeping it so hush hush?
I don't know. I guess I don't know, because I want to be the first one to do it, I guess.
Trust the universe. You'll be the first.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I will. But
yeah,
I'm going to
get some volunteers if you start talking about it.
As far as like the darkness goes, that little girl, she did tell me that most of the time people are just kind of like, if they bump into you, they'll just kind of like barely notice you and be like, oh, yeah, you know. But she's like, there are some things out there that like to chase you. And I don't know where I'm going necessarily with this, but for example, like in the darkness category, I was plagued for years and years and years by nightmares. And I got desperate to the point where I reached out to my friend who's a practicing witch. And I was like, what can I do? Like, I'm desperate. Tell me anything. He was like, yeah, you might try a spell. And so I was like, okay, what do I do? So I basically ended up enchanting this ring that I'm wearing it right now. And after that, I stopped having nightmares.
Wow.
But there's a catch. This literally happened last night, so it's fresh on my mind. And I was sitting there interviewing this other person for my podcast, and I just kept on getting these horrible, horrible thoughts that was being sent into my head. Now, something to note is the thoughts that I have, they come from like the middle back of my head.
Yeah.
They were coming in from my forehead and they were just overpowering. Like basically they were saying like, your son's going to die in 5 years. You're going to die next week. Just all these horrible thoughts. Like your family's going to get in a car crash. And then all of a sudden from like the middle of my head, I just had this thought of take off the ring. So I took off my ring. I put it down. And all of a sudden the thoughts and the anxiety just stopped. And I was like, okay, that's kind of creepy. So I ended up doing this whole like ritual to like cleanse my ring. I'm wearing it again and I'm not getting any bad vibes, but I handed it to my wife and I was like, hey, could you hold this for a minute? And she was like, Ian, this ring is creepy. So I have had, what's that?
She felt it was creepy before or after the cleanse?
Before.
Oh.
Yeah. So the darkness, it's like I don't know if it was just like built up energy or if it was like something that attached itself because I was feeding energy to the ring. I don't know. It was really weird. And I don't know. I just thought I would tell you about that because of the darkness conversation.
It is really interesting because I think it's a really positive conversation too, because I am like so upbeat and cheery about all of it because it can seem like a scary topic, but that's why I did that deep dive into it a few days after spooking myself by hearing all of that chatter that's around. And so after exploring that, a few things that I found out. One is I kept getting, I'm still a hypnosis client. I love this stuff so much, facilitating it and receiving it. And there's always more to learn. And there's always more to progress and advance and evolve. And so during some of my hypnosis sessions, seemingly at random, because I wasn't trying to access this information, I kept getting told by the universe, they were like, those dark things are going to be nice to you. And I'm like, but why? You know what I mean? Because it's not like, I don't fancy myself as special or exempt or, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, why, like, if that's their role to, you know, do their dark stuff, like, why would they be nice to me? And so there have been a variety of ways that they've told me about this, but the crux of it is that I'm pretty good about being non-judgmental. Like if something, quote, bad happens, I'm pretty good about understanding that there's a bigger picture reason of it or for it. And then also nobody's perfect. Like I've also done bad things, right? And so knowing that there's self-forgiveness, and if you have self-forgiveness, then it's easier for you to forgive others. And so basically they said, like, you're pretty gentle, like you're pretty kind, you're non-judgmental whenever it comes to these things. So you don't make these beings that are, you know, doing naughty things, you don't make them feel worse about themselves. And so they kind of leave you alone. And then if they ever see anybody ever thinking about doing something to you or about you, they'll actually come in and defend you because you've been so nice about the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. So for me, I'm just like, aw, like they have feelings too, and they're being pretty nice. So that's been my approach to the whole thing. And then also I know that my soul will sometimes, I hope everybody understands the big picture of this. My soul sometimes will even play for the dark team for the purposes of light. So imagine if you were on a sports team and you were able to play a few games on your rival's team. What better way to learn their playbook, right? What better way to advance the team of light if you've played for and understand the playbook of the dark? And so then you're able to be a better teammate for the light. And then also when you go back to the light side, those who are on the dark side see you defect. And then it can inspire some of them to also come over to the light side. So there's a benefit there as well. And then also just seeing like the nonsense that happens in the world, particularly the last year and a half has been really interesting. But the nonsense that happens in the world and knowing like that playbook that they're playing from and just being like, oh, okay, I can see exactly what they're doing. Like this manipulation is very obvious. This tactic is very obvious. And then I don't lose any sleep over it because I'm like, okay, this is really obvious what's happening here. And then I also understand my path in the world to help people be happier during these times of stress and anxiety and uncertainty and chaos. And so, yeah, it's been interesting understanding what they're up to while also just being a Pollyanna about everything and helping other people be happier.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I used to kind of, and I still kind of think that this dark force or these dark forces that you're talking about were just kind of like folks who had lived life and then weren't ready to let go and then just kind of stayed around, or maybe even just like a piece of themselves that stayed. And but I don't know what to think anymore. I'm honestly like, it's so up in the air. I've talked to a few astral projection practitioners recently that one of them said that a certain politician here in the US is literally like, he lives in Israel, by the way, so he's not like associated with our politics. And he
Yeah.
basically astral projected, and he asked his higher self, he's like, okay, just kind of show me what's going on around the world. And this happened years ago. And he went to, like, he just showed up in front of this politician. He said, I showed up in front of this person named, I'm not going to say names because I don't want I don't want to like trigger anybody, but in front of such and such person who I didn't even know who they were at the time. And they went to this location, and he was like, inside of this person, there was no soul for this person. They were literally a demon. And, yeah, like he was like, they were associating with other demons in other people's bodies, and there were demons outside of bodies there talking to them. And it was just like really weird. And he's like, I had no idea who this person was before. And I live in Israel, so I'm not really associated with that. So it was really weird. So I don't even know what to think anymore.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that at all. Again, because of what happened as a result of the mushroom trip, and me doing that deep dive and trying to understand all of this, I remember saying to someone, I was like, there's actually more darkness than I was aware of. Like, this is a surprise, but like, here are actually the benefits of it. And not benefits. I want to be really clear. I should say all this. I am a vegan. I really try to live a life where I don't hurt anyone else ever. Like, it's really important to me that I don't cause any harm to other people. So when I say like I understand the purpose of it, I also try to never ever perpetuate it, because my role is to help people to feel happier. I'm just saying, like, let's be real. We don't live in a perfect world. Sad things do happen. So let's try to pay attention to the bigger picture perspective of all these things that happen. So I just want to be really clear, because it'd be so easy for people to misunderstand what I'm saying about all of this. But yeah, so I was talking to someone, I was like, yeah, like there are all these dark things. I didn't realize that. And like, there's actually a bigger picture purpose to all of it. And the person was saying like, I don't know if I buy that. And I'm like, well, you believe the angels can be here. So if you can believe the angels can be here, why is it so far-fetched that darker things could be here? And then he was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, but I want to circle back to something you said where you mentioned that you aren't sure what to think, but remember the wisdom from the little girl, the little ghost, where she was like, you're not supposed to be influenced by other people. You just need to go within, and then you'll know exactly what to think.
Yeah, that's true. I always forget it too. I always forget. Like, it's so easy for me. She was right. I have a habit. It's a habit. It's a bad habit.
That's okay. As soon as you become aware of it, you'll start to shift it. And each time you'll shift it faster.
Yeah, this conversation has gone in a direction that I totally wasn't even expecting.
Which is really funny, because again, I am happy the vast majority of the time, and I'm also aware that there is this stuff out there. So another thing, I was doing a meditation a few months ago, and again, just trying to understand like why is like everything. Like, it feels like all the energies are so nice to me. And I'm just like, I don't really understand this, like why. And so one of the darker ones came into my meditation, and they were very succinct in the way that they said it. They just looked at me and they go, too positive, too powerful, no point. Like, basically, like, I'm not of any interest to them because I'm so positive and I'm so powerful that they're like, there's no point in trying to like mess with her. I'm like, oh, thank you. And then he quickly left because there was no point in engaging with me. So
You just look at him like, aw.
I know exactly. I'm like, oh, that's really nice. Like, thank you for coming in because clearly you
They
didn't
just get disgusted and leave. You're like, oh, that's so nice of you. And they're like, God, leave me alone.
I know. I'm like, thank you. He's like, okay. Yeah. Oh, well, they're doing what they're meant to do. You know, we all have our roles. So
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. The whole thing, because I'm still relatively new to it. Like, because I guess I'll call it a spiritual journey only started like 2 years ago, maybe at most. So all this stuff is still kind of new to me. And I love talking about it. I can't get enough.
That's perfect. You're going to learn so much so quickly.
Yeah. And things that I didn't even think were possible before are also, my mind are open to them. Like for going back to the ring thing. I did this ritual. I did like what's called knot magic. I'm sure you probably heard about it, but I basically like lit a candle to represent my own energy. I wrote the whole spell out on paper or the ritual. I put the ring in like some salt and some other herbs and stuff. And then I basically stated my intentions to cast out any negativity and then sent it out of my house and away from me. And then as soon as I tied the knot and then put the candle inside the knot, I was feeling great. Like I was full of energy. I was having a great night. And then all of a sudden I just felt like I had worked a 12-hour day. Like as soon as I put that candle down, I just like slumped over and I was like, oh man, I just got so tired. And I was not expecting that to happen. It was so just out of the blue. I just got so exhausted immediately and I was really confused. And so even stuff like that, I'm really paying a lot more attention to. I
know you facilitate hypnosis sessions. Do you receive them that often?
I just barely had one done by a woman named Fiona Harris a few weeks back. And I'm actually posting the whole session to my podcast. But I left my body behind in the session and I grew so big that I looked at the earth like it was a microorganism. So I was that small and I was talking and I was like, she was asking me questions and I don't remember too much of it because I was really, really deep in trance. I don't remember it, but the recording is really cool. But I said to her, this is so slow. And she was like, what's slow? And I said, the way you humans communicate.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't think I'm human and I don't want to be human anymore, but I don't have enough experience, blah, blah, blah. So that's the most recent one I've done.
So the reason I mentioned that is it feels like you're calling in protection on the earth plane level, which is totally great, but also call in protection from your team, right? All of your spirit friends. And then you won't have to do so much work.
Yeah, I usually do that before a session.
Do it for your whole life.
Huh, I never thought about doing that.
I know some tricks, man. I know some tricks. I've been around the block.
Well, yeah, I mean, you work with Brian Weiss.
Yeah, and then also so you know how I said I facilitated about 1,000 sessions? I've received about 100 sessions. And so I really believe that like of all this training that I've done, I'm even getting my doctorate right now in integral and transpersonal psychology with a focus on spiritual hypnosis. Like my whole life is spiritual hypnosis, but I think the best training, the best education that I've gotten this whole time is as a hypnosis client. Like that's where the learning is really done. And so you just learn like all of these different techniques and ways of operating in the world that feel a lot easier and are more enjoyable.
Yeah, I did learn in that last session. I did learn a lot. My first session I ever did, I just gave my brother the script and I was like, hey, okay, you do me now.
You do it?
Yeah. And I remembered being a woman in the 1730s that died in childbirth, which I was not expecting.
Wow. It's a very impressive family, by the way. Your sister's good at it too.
Yeah, my sister, I'm pretty sure my sister's a medium, but she won't talk to me about it anymore.
Aw. Well, whenever she's meant to, she'll start to gain interest in it.
Yeah, I mean, she ever since then she's had some weird experiences. I feel like she kind of unlocked something almost, and she's like fighting it. She's like, I don't want any part of this, and so I'm like, okay.
Is she younger?
Yeah,
Yeah, that could be part of it too.
yeah, she's younger.
Yeah.
Not like she's not a teenager, but she's not like old like me.
But you know how it is, just the nature of being younger in general. Like the earth is tricky enough to navigate sometimes when you're younger. So I'm sure she's probably like, I do not need to add this layer of complexity.
Yeah, I don't blame her almost. It's you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready for something like this to happen.
Let her know also that she can open it up and turn it off. Like she can basically have business hours with them. So if she ever does decide to open up, to just say like to these friends that are trying to come to her, to just say like, hey, not right now, but this time later. And then really set it up kind of like business hours. And then that way that friend will know when to come back during a time that's good for both of them.
That's really interesting to me as
Mm-hmm.
well. I will let her know about that.
Yeah.
One thing, so one speaking of like darkness, kind of circling back to that. Have you ever heard of Joanne DiMaggio?
That sounds really familiar. Give me a little more information.
She invented soul writing. Um,
Oh man, that sounds so familiar, but I'm clearly not very familiar with it.
she's written like 6 books where she's done case studies. So soul writing is like it's almost like automatic writing, but you call in a white light protection prayer
Yeah.
because she thinks that soul writing is like or not soul writing. She thinks that automatic writing is a really good way to hinder your spiritual development because it opens you up for basically for possession um, by lower vibrational entities,
Hmm.
essentially, if you don't
Yeah.
have that white light protection. She was telling me this story about how had a woman come in and then she basically got possessed in the session.
That's got
So
to be interesting to facilitate. My goodness.
she said that it scared her and that she had to bring the lady out of it. And then the lady was very belligerent afterwards. And she was like, yeah, I'm not charging you for the session, but could you please leave?
Oh man.
Yeah. And
Oh
so
man.
what are your thoughts about that? Like, as far as like protection techniques that people can use and other practitioners, because I have some practitioners that listen to this too. What are some protection techniques that you can use to make people feel safe and to call in that safety?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say this. This is not my area of expertise because you know how I've been mentioning, like, I'm happy and life is good. So I tend to attract clients who are also very happy and their lives are going really well. And they just want to understand more about their purpose and what's the next step on their path. And, they're just like, they tend to be really happy, bubbly people also. And then I don't have the gift of sight. Like, how some people can have their eyes open to look around and see that there are angels in the room and things like that. I've had some clients say to me, they're like, oh, this is why your sessions are always so positive. Like you have a huge team that's just like always protecting what's happening in the sessions. So I just want to say, like, I'll answer as much as I can, but this is not my area of expertise just because I have these protectors around me like all the time. But when I was first starting as a hypnosis client, I remember that in the script, there was this one section, because the whole point of the script is to just help you with relaxing, right? And then your intuition starts to open up, etc. And and there was a section several minutes into the script that called in the energy of protection. And so the whole time you're receiving this really beautiful white light. I don't think that it has to be white. I think it can really be any color. Like your soul might feel more protected by the color light pink or bright yellow, or you know what I mean? But calling in a very, very loving, very nurturing, protective light that flows throughout your entire body, and then your whole body is filled with it, and then you begin to glow and radiate a halo of protective energy around your body. Like that's how protected you are, that you're protected within and then also around you. And then also calling in your spirit friends, right? So we have these huge teams. So of course your soul and your spirit guides, but then all of these other spirit friends that are really looking out for you, really rooting for you. And so just trusting that you can invite them in from your heart and just say like, hey team, just want a little extra protection. And then in a really loving way, and then having it come in. I think it's really that simple, which is asking for that help. And then here's another thing that I do. Anytime I ask for a favor, I always preface it with happy and healthy. So I'm like, oh, I want to get to the movie theater faster, universe. So please help me get to the movie theater in a happy, healthy, faster way. And so I always try to build that into anything that I'm asking the universe for, happy and healthy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And it's great too, because it's pretty simple. The way that what I do is I call it energy discovery and shielding. I'll take people with their third eye into basically their solar plexus in the middle of their body and have them look at that energy field that's there. And then I'll have them take that and expand it around their body and then fill it up with energy. So it's like a bubble.
Very cool.
And that's worked for even like after the session is over. People say they can like feel it, and it's really cool.
Do you want to hear something fun that I haven't told that many people about?
I would love to hear something fun that you haven't told that many people about.
Okay, so a lot of my clients, I was saying like I end up attracting a certain type of client. And so a lot of them are very connected to the angel realm, the fairy realm, dragon realm. I mean, starseeds, a lot of people know about that. And so what's been coming in more and more over the last, I want to say year, but it's actually getting closer to a year and a half now, is the Pegasus family. And so a lot of my clients are from the dragon realm, and like they're basically really loving, very powerful, pleasant beings. They're just, very, very strong and fiery, like kind of like pleasantly passionate. That's the type of people I'm talking about. And so at one point we were asking, so like if you're a dragon, like who protects you? Because you would think like, do dragons even need protection? And we've been finding out that it's the Pegasus family that protects the dragons. And everyone's like, wait, what? Like that's interesting. And so what we're finding out is that the dragons tend to be closer to the earth realm, and the Pegasus family tends to be a bit more removed. And because there is that emotional distancing, then the Pegasus family, because of that emotional distance, is able to stay more level-headed, if you will, and is able to protect the dragons who go closer into Earth's energy and Earth's emotions. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I've heard literally just one other person mention the dragon realm. And could you elaborate on what that even means? Because I've only heard it one time, and it was just in passing.
Sure.
Like, what do you mean by realms?
That's a great question. That's something where I would have to actually take myself into hypnosis to be able to really give a full answer, because I just take for granted that I know what it is. Then I'm like, wait, do I know what it is? So here's an example. Fairy realm, right? I think we all have a pretty good idea of fairy realm, that this is more elemental, it's connected to nature. It's kind of like layered on top of Earth's nature, while it's also something that's a bit different. Dragon realm to me, and I'm actually just getting like images and wisdom right now as we're talking about it, seems to be more atmospheric, where it is part of the earth, but it's also outside of the earth. So they can come and go, like they can be among the stars and also come down here. And so that's why some people think that they are part of the fairy realm, because when they engage in the earth realm, it's more like they're within the fairy realm, but they also go into, I don't really know how to say this, but like the part of the stratosphere, I guess, that goes just outside of Earth's atmosphere. So they can go out there as well. That's actually, I've never heard that before. That just came in. So that's really interesting. Yeah.
I never heard any of it before. So
yeah.
it is interesting. I'm actually going to have some people like witches come on my show and talk about these different kinds of realms, like the fae and elemental spirits and things like that. So for the audience, look forward to that. But this is a really interesting kind of segue into that, because
every time I see them, dragons are always in outer space. Like that's how I always see them, but they always feel like they're also close to earth. And so this is like the first time I've really asked that question. So thank you. Like that's new information for me that helps that image of yes, they're close to earth, but I always see the background of like the blackness of space and some stars in the background. So that makes sense as to why I always feel like they are out there. And then when it get even weirder, okay, I love how you didn't say yes, so I'm still gonna.
Yes. Yes, like, absolutely. So my mic was muted. It was muted, and I was like, yes. And then I was like, oh, I'm muted. Yes.
I'm glad you said yes. It's like, I'm saying it anyway. So this is another very strange thing where I knew that I was from the angel realm. Like that I've known about since March of 2018. And then all these dragons kept coming into my sessions. I'm like, what is this? Because I didn't even know. Listen, first of all, I didn't even know that angels could incarnate on earth. I learned that in February of 2018. Then I found out about myself in March of 2018, and it's like the floodgates opened. And I wasn't even talking about this publicly, but then all these clients started to come in who were incarnated angels. And it's like their soul said like, okay, Courtney knows that this is a thing now. Go have your session. And so then also like, then there's this wave, kind of like I was saying, the Pegasus family's been coming in a lot more in the last year and a half. But before that wave, so after angels, but before the Pegasus family, are the dragons that started to come in. So more and more people are coming in saying that they're from the dragon family. And I'm like, yeah, the dragons are coming in a lot for me also in my self-guided hypnosis sessions. And so I was thinking like, can you be both? Like, how does that even work? And of course, as with anything, your souls can do whatever it wants. And so I found out that you can be a hybrid of these things. But the way that I got connected to the dragons, and this is I'm going to have to do a session on myself to find out like how this even happened. But what happened for me is that I was an angel in the spirit realm, but maybe just in outer space. And I was injured. How? I don't know. Haven't asked yet. And a dragon like found me in the spirit realm / outer space and saved me. Like I'm just kind of like floating limp through outer space. Dragon finds me, saves me, nurses me back to health. And then I'm like exposed to this dragon and his family. And like I'm spending all this time with them. And then they taught me their ways. And they basically like graduated me into also being of the dragons. They were like, you're one of us now if you want to be. And it's just like, yeah. So I get to, and that's very interesting too with my personality, where some days if I'm in a cranky mood, I'm like, ooh, that might be a little too much dragon. And then other days, like, I'm very, very sweet and gentle. And I'm like, wow, all angel today, huh? So yeah, it's this very interesting thing where like I feel like a pretty quote normal person just in terms of like, so many people are so interesting and so cool. And all of my beliefs growing up were pretty traditional and boring. And so finding out all of this stuff through hypnosis and just through these different experiences is just like so cool and so interesting to find out that these things are even possible.
Yeah, I had no clue. Like this is all new to me and it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Like dragons and angels, you think that they're all just made up.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Here's another one. Greek mythology is real.
Okay. Elaborate, please.
Yeah. So you know how I found out that angels can incarnate, dragons can incarnate, star seeds, we know that can incarnate, fairies can incarnate. Also, those who are from Greek mythology, whether it's something like, quote, a character, or a god or a demigod, they can also incarnate.
Okay, that's interesting. So if they're real, what about the other gods and goddesses?
Probably.
Like I recently interviewed a woman on my show that said she remembers living a life in Egypt, and then she had these, like, she was a slave, and the slave owners and his wife drove heated wood slivers up underneath her fingernails and all of her toenails, and then she died of shock from the pain. And then she saw Anubis, and she was like, it was one of the most vivid things I've ever seen. It was just Anubis, and he didn't care about me, and they were going to do the weighing of the heart versus the feather, and she was really scared about it. So if they are real, what about like Anubis and Geez, all the gods around. That's interesting.
What is Anubis?
Anubis is the Egyptian god of death.
Okay. Is it just like our Grim Reaper?
No, so it's when Egyptians died, they believed that you go before Anubis and he weighs the contents of your heart against a feather, and if your heart tips the scales away from the feather, you're basically devoured by a giant crocodile.
Wait, so you die and then you get to die again?
Yeah, but the crocodile, you die for real, and
Man,
you don't get to be reborn. Oh yeah.
Huh. So here's the thing. I tend to lean toward that anything is possible. You know what I mean? Like half the stuff, please, 90% of the stuff that I've said today probably sounds insane to most people. So if somebody says something to me and I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean, it's probably real in some form or fashion to some souls, even if it doesn't resonate with my soul. Like my soul probably doesn't engage or participate in something like that, but then others might.
I think it kind of depends on where someone is as far as like in this journey. If they're right at the very beginning of the journey and they haven't been exposed to anything, they're probably are going to think you're insane, to be honest. But sure. I don't think you're insane. I find it interesting.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a little weird. It's a little weird for me, but I believe I don't know if I believe it, but I am inclined to believe in the existence of the Fae. So if the Fae can exist, then why not dragons, and why not angels and demons and all that stuff? You know, it's just
same here.
Reality's stranger than fiction.
Why draw the line? And I think a lot of times people draw the line just based on their comfort level, right? And so I've just seen so much interesting stuff. And also because, again, I believe that everything ultimately is from source and is love. So I tend to not get too nervous about things. So I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if there is a line. I think that probably all things are possible. So, and it's interesting because I do sound pretty insane based on most of what I've said, but like there is a very practical nature of like, really like anything is possible. That's pretty practical.
Yeah. I mean, there's like I said, reality is stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Okay. Like there's so much that I didn't even know that was going on before I got into this and doing this show and doing this kind of work. Like as far as like even like psychic abilities, remote viewing, astral projection, past life regression, reincarnation, life on alien planets, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all connected. It's all part of the puzzle.
Yep. And then also, and you know how this is, if you do this work long enough, you start to see evidence that what is coming in is real. Like, for example, I was working with a client, and I don't always see things when I'm working with clients, but for some clients, I see a lot. And it's kind of like their team wants me to be able to help them in that way. So I'm able to see more for those clients. And I remember like really distinctly having to ask him this question. By the way, I didn't want to interrupt his session, but his guides were like grabbing me by the left arm so tightly that it started to feel uncomfortable. And I was like, guys, like, listen, just, let go of my arm. I'm going to ask him. So the question that I had to ask him is, who is Orpheus? So not Morpheus, like the Matrix, but Orpheus. I've never heard that word before. And he just goes, Orpheus is me. Like boom, like didn't even think about it. Just said it with so much confidence. And it was his first hypnosis session ever, this client. And so he was very like, what is going on? And I'm very like, what is going on? And I was seeing like this golden staff that's in the right hand. Like I'm seeing all these things. And as soon as the session was over, I was like, dude, we need to Google Orpheus. Like, what is this? I was like, it sounds Greek, but I don't even know. And then looked it up. And of course, like the Wikipedia artwork that represents this, I think Orpheus is a demigod, is holding a golden staff in the right hand. And I was like, wow, okay, that's really interesting. So if you have enough of these things that happen, you're just like, I don't know, something real is coming in. So, and also he feels better every time he has a session. And he's about to have another session in like 4 weeks. So it's working for him.
Yeah. And, I would say, like, for the most part, for just for the audience sake listening, for the most part, if you haven't had a regression, in my experience anyway, you're going to have, for the most part, there's always exceptions, but for the most part, you're going to have like a picking potatoes kind of life.
Yeah.
Everybody has those. Like, you're going to be like, oh, I was a woman who gave birth and died in childbirth in the 1730s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, that is a really good point, that sometimes people don't believe these stories because they're so fantastical. And it's like, oh, well, we're just talking about the most interesting ones. My very first session was when I was a client, was exactly like that, where I was like, wow, that was super, super mundane, but I felt better at the end of it, which is why I kept doing it, even though it was very picking potatoes. I don't even know if like something that exciting was happening. I don't even know if I had the excitement of potatoes. Yeah. And so
potatoes
really
are pretty exciting.
Most people, what's that?
I said potatoes are pretty exciting.
I know, they're so delicious, right? So, but yeah. So I also want to say this for anybody who's like, this sounds crazy. I'm like, yes, I know it sounds crazy, but I can't speak about everybody's clients. I can only speak about my clients. I can only speak about myself. If anybody were to see me or my clients on the street, or to look into our education records or our bank statements, like by all traditional societal markers of like normalcy and success, like we're all like really, really normal and successful, like all went to good schools, successful in our careers, can carry on a conversation with just about anybody, like, just wear jeans and a sweatshirt. Like, it's like, like nobody would ever know that we are super outside of the box. So like, these are just like, quote, normal people who have decided to open up to the wisdom of their soul. And like, that's where the fun comes in. And I really believe that anybody can do it if they want to do it, if they're open to it.
Yeah, me too. I also agree with that. Yeah, for the most part, when you do these things, you're going to see those basic lives, the basic past lives. And then if you keep doing it, that's when you're going to see the weird shit.
Yes. Yeah. It was session 4 for me. Remember, session 1, I'm not even picking potatoes, like even more boring than that. By the 4th session, I was an 18th century sailor enjoying the night sky out on the ocean. And then an orb carrying a member of my alien family came in. So like session number 4 went from like, yep, here we go, past lives again, to, oh, now an alien is visiting. I'm like, well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah. From 0 to 60, that's been my experience too. It's like, yep. Oh, I'm a woman who died in childbirth. Oh, okay. Now I'm bigger than literally like the whole entire galaxy. So yep. Whatever.
I know, it's pretty cool. And I have to say, aren't the more expansive sessions even more interesting? And I frankly think they're even more healing.
Yeah, well, it gives you a completely different perspective for sure.
I think that's why the universe keeps taking us there also, where it's like, okay, guys, we get it. Past lives, that's your starter kit. We get it. And then they're like, now that we've got you warmed up, let us show you why we really got you interested in all of this.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep going down the rabbit hole. I don't think I'll ever stop.
Well, the rabbits are very friendly, so.
I hope so. I don't like rabbits for the most part, but
oh no!
I hope they're friendly. Well, Courtney, we are a little bit past 6:22. Your favorite number?
Oh, hey! Wow, this is so enjoyable. I haven't even looked at the clock, and I don't know however long this has been going on.
Yeah, a while. I don't remember when we started recording, but yeah, if you want to just plug your website and your services and stuff, so if anybody wants to reach out to you and attend any of your wonderful sounding events or book a session with you, how can people get in contact with you? What do you got going on?
I would say probably the easiest resource to go to is CourtneyStarkey.com, because when you go there, you'll see a lot of different options. So you'll be able to find the option for scheduling a one-on-one session. You'll also be able to find the option for buying my book, Cornflower, the one that I mentioned earlier that the client's souls were hounding me to finish it. So it's finally finished and you can buy it. Also, I have a spiritual hypnosis membership, kind of like, it's like a gym membership where you sign up for it and then you can every single month attend 1 or 2 live online group hypnosis sessions. So you can attend all of them. It's just that I host only 1 or 2 per month. And so people are really growing very quickly, like evolving very quickly from the spiritual hypnosis membership sessions because they're getting access to that regular and consistent spiritual hypnosis. Also, one of my favorite things is my spiritual hypnosis clients asked me, they were like, are you teaching? Remember I talked about the soul empowering hypnosis, that more free flow style of hypnosis? Right. They were saying like, are you teaching how to do this? And I was like, no. But then the universe was like, you have to start teaching it. And I've learned when the universe prompts me really hard that I need to say yes, because every time I say yes, my life gets better and better. And so I started teaching soul empowering hypnosis in the summer of 2020. And it's been really, really wonderful. So my soul empowering hypnosis students, they asked me if I could turn it into a certification. So I've turned it into a certification. NATH, the National Association of Transpersonal Hypnotherapists, is backing the certification. So you just have to be a CHT first and then get certified in SEH. So I'm now teaching CHT, certified hypnotherapist training, as well as SEH, soul empowering hypnosis. So basically like all of that. I'm going to be teaching MHT, master hypnotherapist certification. All of that is available on the website. And it's really interesting, like coming back into being a teacher, because my master's degree is in education. And I remember thinking like, well, don't need that anymore. After I became a hypnotherapist, I'm like, well, here we are teaching again. And then I'm getting my doctorate, like I said, in integral and transpersonal psychology with a focus on spiritual hypnosis. So it's been an interesting journey of being a lifelong learner. And then also here we are being a teacher again. And all of that is available at CourtneyStarkey.com.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I'll definitely include a link to that in the description. So if anybody wants to check that out, just look in the description below, or just head on over to CourtneyStarkey.com and look at all that info. And Courtney, before we kind of sign off for the episode, do you have a message that you'd like to leave from my audience?
Let me see what they want to say. Give me just a second. Sorry, this is Courtney laughing. My team is sending in a message, so I'll just let them talk, but it's really funny what they're saying. Give me just 1 second. I'll let them borrow my vocal cords. Hey, everyone. This is Courtney's team. We really appreciate you listening. And yes, there is some darkness out there. Don't fret about that. It really is okay. Just be love. Be your bright, sparkly selves. It will make everything better. That is your protection. Your joy, your happiness, your sparkle, your glow. That is your protection. You are fine. Your radiance also helps to make the world a better place, helps to protect others. We also want to say that as you are listening to Ian's podcast, we appreciate that not only are you growing along with him, but you are also inspiring him to grow and develop. And he is the teacher as well. So we want to make sure that we put that out there, that you are serving as students, but that's also really a soul contract where you're just encouraging him to be a student himself while also being a teacher. So we appreciate how you collectively are helping him with that. We also want to say that it's all good. Everything is good. And the girl's not crazy. She knows what she's talking about. Sorry, that's Courtney laughing again. Okay, that's it. Wow. That was actually the first thing they said, and I censored it where they started with, she's not crazy. And I started laughing so hard. So yeah.
Well, that was awesome, Courtney. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Of course, it was my pleasure.
That's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank Courtney for coming on to the show, and I'd also like to thank you for tuning in. Head on over to CourtneyStarkey.com to see what she's got going on. She's really awesome to talk to, and I'm sure that one of you guys would benefit greatly from working with her. And there's a link to that in the description. Also, head on over to Facebook. Follow me on the Regression Session podcast. I post some additional content there. Also, the podcast is now available on iHeartRadio. If you like the show, I'd appreciate you subscribing in your podcast player and sharing the show around with anyone you think might be interested, or even someone who you think would be interested in coming onto the show. If you're interested in coming onto the podcast and talking with me about your experiences, send me an email. My email is theregressionsession@gmail.com, and I would love to have you on the show. Say thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.